Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Ball Games in Bellingham, Mass. Here we actually have a ELD Vintage Open, and round one, I'm on camera here. We always have the number one table play on camera, as long as both players are game, and Craig here is game with PO, Paradoxical Outcome, getting a little bit of a shot in the arm now that Karn, Great Creator, has been restricted. So we see here I'm on Dredge, I lost Golgari, Grave Troll, and Mental Misstep, mostly been replaced by Unmask and Shambling Shell. Not too much in the way of changes here. And a keep on 7. Of course, any keepable hand gonna have Bazaar or Baghdad. It's gonna draw 2, discard 3. We do have a Dredger with that Shambling Shell, an Icarid, and a Prized Amalgam. And Unmask, a absolutely shoddy proxy there. That is a Raging Goblin with Unmask written across it. We do allow 15 playtest cards, though most of the players here do not need them. I think the Unmasks might be the only proxies or playtest cards in this deck. Perhaps Force of Negation, that one's been pretty tough to keep in stock as well. Just an absolute staple. So Lavinia taken with this Unmask, leaving no blue card for Force of Will. Force not likely to be very good moving forward. Force of Will, a very reactive card, and can often just be taken care of by Cabal Therapy as the game plan unfolds. And Craig's Vamp Tutor, finding Ancestral Recall, that resolves. He has a Mox Jet to go along with that Mana Vault, so jumping way ahead on mana, of course. Of course, relative to Dredge, which runs basically just 2 mana sources, a Singleton Strip Mine and a Dakmore Salvage. This list from MTG Top 8, I believe this is Smemon's list. If you're looking for something to play, he's a pretty reasonable place to start. Force of Vigor needs to be played on Craig's turn, not now. So Icarid's gonna get a token, or 2 tokens. So lethal is what we're looking at on the next turn. Icarid returning plus Hollow One. So Force of Vigor targeting these both Mox Jet and Mana Vault. And I believe this will be lethal on the next turn. So Force of Will, hard cast, drawing for turn. And he has a Narset off of 3 Moxes, Sapphire and Opal there. And is there a black card in the graveyard? So drawing 1 and then discarding. And now draw step. Dredging, Dakmore Salvage, swinging just for 8. So no black creature in the graveyard. So Narset gets cleared. And now a Paradoxical Outcome. So no black creature in the graveyard. And Craig is off to the races here. Paradoxical Outcome number 1 and number 2, generating a ton of card advantage here, and still has some mana floating, plus all those artifacts to replay. A Brainstorm now, with 1 card in hand. You've got to assume Craig doesn't have it until he actually has it. He's not going to be firing off Brainstorms unnecessarily. He knows he's up against just a single card, so as long as this keeps going, the state of this game likely unclear. Game number 1. Usually Dredge manages to take down game number 1. This is a bad sign so far. Craig with just a ton of mana to come back out. You should have one colored mana left floating there. The Soul Ring providing the Sensei's Top and the spin. Lotus, Sapphire, Mana Vault with the floating. So much mana. And a Time Walk. So tons of Storm just being left on the table. During the upkeep, he's going to go ahead and spin top. Oh, did he miss his draw? I didn't actually see the draw. Twister, though. And that is a pretty crazy situation here. So he's going to be getting 7. I'm going to be getting 7. This deck runs 4 Force of Will and 4 Force of Negation. So Craig going to need to draw a better hand than me. This is anybody's game. Despite Craig drawing, I mean, my goodness, how many cards was that? Seems like 20 cards. So very unfortunate for him that he has to cast Twister. Will his hand be good enough to get there through whatever disruption I might have? I'm not seeing much in the way of blue cards over there. No, I don't even think there's any forces. Narset. Digging. This Hollow One and Zombie pair likely not going to get into the red zone here. Tinker. Bolus's Citadel. Maybe my new favorite Tinker target. It does absolutely busted things at a speed that is appropriate for a vintage, or competitive with vintage right now. I don't know if it's appropriate, but it's certainly competitive with anything else in the format. Back in the day, you used to be able to get away with tinkering things like Mindslaver. Just a little bit too slow for that. And now we have a Paradoxical outcome being paid for life. And those Sensei's Tops being tapped to draw. Now, note that Craig did have the option to use mana for that. He's instead using the 4 life. Drawing off the Sensei's Tops next. There we go. And a Teferi. And that is going to mean any counterspell would have to be used beforehand. And Tendrils coming down, finishing that with an incredibly high storm count. Craig's life total skyrocketing back up. And my life total getting reduced to 0 there. It was really anybody's game. After that Twister. Alright, just recording here in the shop. Sorry for the silence. We do these in one take whenever possible, and just got a delivery there. Look forward to seeing what new products will be in stock here at ELD's Time Vault Games. I'm legitimately not sure what that is. I think it might be all the new Dungeons and Dragons stuff. I'm getting just a section laid away with all of the current SKUs for 5th edition. We'll see how much space that takes up. so far, most of the stuff I've been selling for D&D has actually been the kind of luxury stuff that other stores don't have, like the Falling Star sailing ship and the hobby store exclusive books like Ghost of Saltmarsh, that type of stuff, when they've got the different cover. So if you're looking for rarer D&D stuff, that may be something we have for you. All right, so going back in, keeping on 7, draw 2, discard 3. Lots of reasons to do that now during your main phase. Hollow 1 and Unmask both really reward activating that on your turn. In the past, it has been often better to use Bazaar on your opponent's turn, and what that would do is allow you to potentially play around Graveyard Hate a little bit more effectively. So, Containment Priest sticking in a pair of Hollow Ones. Forgot to draw for turn, apparently. So there's a pair of Hollow Ones up against this Containment Priest. And, man, that Priest is so far not really been strong enough in many matchups. Seems like it would absolutely, consistently be a powerhouse, but thanks to Hollow One now, and just anybody on board before it comes down, it can be a real issue. I mean, if you just get like a Narcomoeba, as long as you get some zombies, being able to cast your Hogaaks out of the graveyard, just a massive threat. Just getting a notification that my disk is almost full on this computer. Emptying the trash. Another Bazaar, and that is just filthy. And I have some Narcomoebas entering the battlefield. If it weren't for that Containment Priest, this would be absolutely over. And instead, we're going to see a Cabal Therapy getting 2 zombies. And it looks like it's going to be time for Hogaak. Got a couple of zombies. And depending on how many Hogaaks are in the graveyard, now could be a good time to start looping them. Well, there's just one Hogaak. So Cabal Therapy another time. It looks like there's actually just one Hogaak, perhaps. But he can be sacrificed to Cabal Therapy and brought back again. So Paradoxical outcome taken, leaving him with Narset and some cantrips. And Hogaak coming back down with lethal on board. Even blocking with Containment Priest will not save him here, so he needs to do something spectacular on his turn. Craig spins that top with Ruby, and that is that. Not actually sure what's going to get him out of that situation. Depending on what he has for outs, it may have been best to draw a card for turn and then go ahead and fire off a Brainstorm or Preordain, trying to dig a little bit deeper. Once you commit that colorless mana early, your cantrips are much, much worse. Of course, if you preordain and then look 3 deeper, very different than looking at 3 and then preordaining into them, essentially nullifying the utility of that spinning of the Sensei's top. So game 3 now. Dredge easily winning that game 2 off the back of a pair of Hollow Ones, and Cabal Therapy is just shredding Craig's hand. Usually Dredge in game number 3 has, or game number 1 has such a favorable matchup versus most of the field, but Paradoxical Outcome, a deck that can steal games from literally anything, and this is 3 Serum Powders in a row here. That is ridiculous. 21 cards exiled before the game even begins. Only 39 left in there. You do the math. Drawing 7 from that. There's a very high chance that this is going to be a multiple Bazaar game. Craig has some comfort in 21 cards being exiled. Those are some resources that won't be able to be enabled. Copies of Bridge from Below, Narcomoeba, Hollow One. They do hurt to lose, but still super favorable. Having that guaranteed Bazaar with 7 cards in hand to work with. For newer players, one way to look at that could be to think of the cards as on the bottom of the library. A lot of the time people feel very bad about exiling cards, but the reality is it's unless you're going to dredge all the way to the bottom of your deck, it's pretty much the same as them just going on the bottom, which is, I think, a little bit easier for people to emotionally process. It doesn't feel like they're losing as much when they try and think about it that way. Here we've got a Hollow One on the first turn. Bazaar gets a Dredger in the graveyard, so things looking good. And we see that flash of blue and red. Absolutely iconic art with Force of Will, recognizable from across a room. Just beautiful contrast on that card. Therese Nielsen, just a tremendous talent, has made so much beautiful art for Magic the Gathering. You can talk about art composition strictly on the merit of the art, but then there's also a next level where you talk about the composition of a Magic card, and Force of Will, really one of those perfect examples of the blue frame with that bright red and yellow. Just so iconic. And dredging, continuing unimpeded after Force of Willing that Lavinia. Lavinia actually a real serious threat for Dredge. It stops you from casting any of your spells. Hollow One, Hogaak, Cabal Therapy. You can cast because you do have a Bazaar usually, but it will get countered. But that doesn't always matter. Mostly you're just using it as a sack outlet. But things are just proceeding unimpeded here. We've got a Narcomoeba. Oh, and it's time for a Ravenous Trap. Ooh. May have overextended there, counting the graveyard, so that double Bazaar draw felt pretty good. But with just a handful of cards left in the library, it's not actually clear the best way to proceed. Sending 5, Force of Will drawn for turn, but only 2 cards, so if Bazaar is activated here, it'll go down to 1 card in hand. Containment Priest. That is likely just going to be a speed bump. Craig now down to just 8 life. And it is in fact a speed bump. He's down to 7. Better to keep the life available in case a card like Bolas's Citadel, and there we go, Tinker. So there we. But it gets Force of Will to a blue card drawn. Bazaar not needed to be activated. And that Tinker likely would have been it. And he needs quite a lot here. Sacrificing that fetch land means Narcomoeba would get him anyways. So even with an answer to Hollow One, Narcomoeba would finish the job. And a very close 3-game match. Ravenous Trap doing a ton of work there to prevent an absolute stomping. But in the end, that Hollow One, that first turn 4/4 creature, able to ride to victory essentially on its own. Well, hope you enjoyed that one. And this look at a little bit of vintage. We'll have some more legacy videos soon. Thanks for watching. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.